Welcome aboard. Here for a glass of Eau de Diamant. Just celebrating God's return out of the ground and back up into the sky. He and his odd little friends are forming some sort of league.
You better not be wasting my time.
No, I have too much important things to do. We have to level the playing field, Mr. Wilson. To put it plainly, shouldn't we have a league of our own?
Welcome to Deep Diving, diving deep in pop culture. Today's episode will focus on Deathstroke, who recently appeared in the Justice League movie. Deathstroke's real name is Slade Joseph Wilson, and he's a fictional supervillain that appears in American comic books published by DC Comics. The character was created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. Deathstroke the Terminator first appeared in 1980 in the second issue of the book New Titans. He was originally introduced as a Terminator, a mercenary who was completing the terms of a contract undertaken by his son Ravager. Slade Wilson was 16 years old when he first enlisted in the United States Army. Having lied about his age, after serving a stint in Korea, he was later assigned to Camp Washington, where he had been promoted to the rank of major. In the early 1960s, he met Captain Adeline Kane, who was tasked with training young soldiers in new fighting techniques in anticipation of brewing troubles taking place in Vietnam. Kane was amazed at how skilled Slade was and how quickly he adapted to modern conventions of warfare. She immediately fell in love with him and realized that he was, without a doubt, the most able-bodied combatant she had ever encountered. She offered to privately train Slade in guerrilla warfare. In less than a year, Slade mastered every fighting form presented to him and was soon promoted to the rank of lieutenant colonel. 6 months later, Adeline and he were married, and she became pregnant with their first child. The war in Vietnam began to escalate, and Slade was shipped overseas. In the war, his unit massacred a village, an event which sickened him. He was also rescued by SAS member Wintergreen, to whom he would later return the favor. Chosen for a secret experiment, the Army imbued him with enhanced physical powers in an attempt to create metahuman super soldiers for the U.S. military. Deathstroke became a mercenary soon after the experiment when he defied orders and rescued his friend Wintergreen, sent on a suicide mission by a commanding officer with grudge. However, Slade kept this career secret from his family, even though his wife was an expert military combat instructor. A criminal named the Jackal took his younger son, Joseph Wilson, hostage to force Slade to divulge the name of a client who had hired him as an assassin. Slade refused, claiming it was against his personal honor code. He attacked and killed the kidnappers at the rendezvous. Unfortunately, Joseph's throat was slashed by one of the criminals before Slade could prevent it, destroying Joseph's vocal cords and rendering him mute. After taking Joseph to the hospital, his wife Adeline was enraged at his endangerment of her son and tried to kill Slade by shooting him, but only managed to destroy his right eye. Afterwards, his confidence in his physical abilities was such that he made no secret of his impaired vision, marked by his mask, which has a black, featureless half covering his lost eye. Without his mask, Slade wears an eye patch. Some powers and abilities Slade possesses are enhanced strength, speed, agility, and durability, granted by an experimental serum. These include having the strength of 10 men and possessing heightened speed, stamina, endurance, and reflexes. His enhancements made it possible for him to press about a ton. He has the capacity to use up to 90% of his brain at any one time, making him a tactical genius, adept at turning his opponent's own abilities against him. This can also be attributed to his years in the military and combat with various heroes. His major enemies have normally in the comic book been the Teen Titans. It was reported earlier in the year that he would be going against Batman in the new Batman movie coming out, but everything with that has changed, so we're not really sure if that's going to be the case anymore. But it would be an awesome fight to see because Batman and Slade seem to pair together very well, except for the fact that Slade Wilson seems to be like a million times stronger. Like he can like press a ton, which is amazing. Like that's physically impossible for any normal human to do. You can currently see Slade on the DC television show Arrow. He also made a recent appearance in the Justice League movie, which leads me to believe that he will be in future DC movies coming up within the next few years. All right, thank you guys very much for listening. This has been another episode of Deep Diving with Deathstroke, aka Slade Wilson. Have a good one.